Good evening. It's Monday, the 3rd of August, and here's the day, done by dark. Tonight, Wall Street had its best day in weeks on a piece that one of the two countries involved says isn't happening. A company crossed $3 trillion, and the United States went into the currency market to buy somebody else's money. Start with what the president said because the whole day turns on it. Donald Trump said today he called off a strike on Iran. He described what he called off as the biggest attack since the Second World War and said it would have been, his word, disastrous for them. Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, and Qatar asked him to hold, he said, and talks would begin Monday afternoon. He named what he wants out of them: the complete opening of the Strait of Hormuz and an end to Iran's nuclear program. He did not say who would be at that table. He did not say where. Now the other side, because the two accounts do not match. Iran's foreign ministry spokesman, Esmail Baghai, said today that Iran is negotiating with Oman about a temporary shipping lane to keep vessels safe. And then, plainly, we are not currently negotiating with the United States. Iranian military sources went further. The state news agency Mehr quoted them calling the president's account, quote, simply a new lie. We're not going to tell you which is true. We don't know. What we can tell you is that the market picked one. And one fact that went almost unmentioned today. Hormuz has been effectively closed since the war began on the 28th of February. Ships crossing the region now run north, close to the Iranian shore, and by Iranian permission, or south, hugging Oman. The middle passage, the one everybody means, is mined. Iran mined it. Opening it isn't a signature on a piece of paper. It's minesweepers in a channel for weeks while somebody decides not to shoot at them. To the markets, which took the president at his word, the Dow finished at 53,178, up 693 points. That's a record close, its first in almost a month. The S&P 500 finished at 7,601, up 1.5%. The Nasdaq at 25,914, up 2.1. Neither of those set a record. The Dow did. Oil went the other way. Hard. West Texas crude down 5.3% to $80.16. The biggest single thing that happened in the market today wasn't about Iran at all. Amazon rose about 5% to $283 a share and crossed $3 trillion in market value for the first time. The reason is the cloud business. Amazon Web Services grew 37% last quarter to $42 billion, the fastest it has grown in 18 quarters. Andy Jassy said the artificial intelligence business and the chip business are each running at about $25 billion a year on their own. Every large cloud company said a version of that today. Microsoft rose 5%. Its Azure business crossed $100 billion a year for the first time. Alphabet rose 5%. Google Cloud grew 82%, and the company raised what it expects to spend on buildings and chips this year to as much as $205 billion. Meta rose 7%, and after the bell, Palantir reported revenue up 93% and rose another 12%. Hold one number as we leave this. Alphabet alone intends to spend up to $205 billion this year on the physical equipment behind all of it. That is roughly what the entire country of Portugal produces in a year. Now the quiet one, and it may be the most consequential thing in tonight's program. On Friday, the governments of the United States and Japan went into the currency market together. They sold dollars and bought yen. Both governments confirmed it today. The yen had fallen to its weakest against the dollar in nearly 40 years. It recovered about 1.5%. Bank of Japan figures suggest Japan alone sold something near $59 billion on Thursday. Japan's finance minister said the two countries work together to curb volatility. The American Treasury Secretary said Washington wouldn't hesitate to do it again. This is the first time the two have intervened together since 2011. And that time they were pushing the yen the other way after the earthquake. The president's explanation was friendship. Japan wanted a little help, he said, and we're always there for Japan. Here's the less romantic version, and both can be true. When the yen collapses, Japanese institutions sell American government bonds to cover themselves, and Japan is one of the largest foreign holders of American debt there is. That selling pushes American interest rates up. Mortgages, car loans, the government's own borrowing. The United States bought yen on Friday. It was also buying calm in its own bond market to Gaza and to something this program flagged on Friday. Last week, the president said Israel was satisfied with the plan for Hamas to disarm and for Israeli forces to withdraw. We said at the time that Israel had not confirmed any of it and had not commented. Today, Israel commented. It has formally conveyed what it calls serious concerns to Washington. Netanyahu's spokesman, Doron Spielman, said that if Israel pulls back before Hamas is truly disarmed, Hamas will expand across Gaza, rebuild, and try again. Israel's objections are specific, which makes them harder to talk past. It wants to keep operating militarily inside Gaza. It wants Qatar and Turkey kept out of verifying anything. And it wants the weapons destroyed once they're handed over, not stored. On what disarmament means, Spielman said, physically giving up the weapons, nothing less. Meanwhile, the strikes did not stop. At least 17 people were killed in Gaza overnight into Sunday. One strike hit an apartment in the south and killed 3 of a family, including a 4-year-old. And to Ukraine, where this happened on Saturday while we were off. Russia fired 27 ballistic missiles at Kyiv overnight. Ukrainian air defenses stopped one of them. At least 9 people were killed. 1 out of 27 isn't a failure of nerve. It's a shortage of Patriot interceptors, and Ukraine has been asking to build its own. The president was asked about that today. We have not agreed to that, he said. It's a hard thing to give away that kind of technology. Elsewhere, Spain has installed floating barriers in the water off Ceuta, its enclave on the North African coast, after tens of thousands crossed from Morocco. About 48,000 of some 50,000 were returned. At least 72 died trying. And Capital One closed more than 300 accounts tied to the Trump Organization in 2021. After a money laundering review flagged transaction patterns the bank said raised concerns. That became public today. One last thing, and it's 169 years in the making. There's an asteroid called Nyssa in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. People have been looking at it since 1857. Tonight we know what it looks like. New images from 2 telescopes, one in Chile and one in Arizona, show that Nyssa isn't one rock. It's 3 lobes joined by 2 narrow necks. The first 3-lobe asteroid anyone has found in this solar system. Kate Minker of Lowell Observatory said it's either 3 bodies touching or a single object more irregular than anything we've seen. 169 years of watching a point of light before anyone could see its shape. What to watch tomorrow? SpaceX reports earnings for the first time as a public company. The stock is near its all-time low after 7 straight losing sessions. And $116 billion of insider shares are free to be sold on Thursday. And Michigan votes. That's Monday. A record on Wall Street, built on a conversation that one of the 2 parties says isn't taking place. Rest well. We'll be right here again tomorrow evening to wrap whatever comes. Done by dark. Good night.